Thank you. Please be seated. Thanks for the warm welcome. Thanks for coming today. You're probably wondering what we're doing here. I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to talk about one of the most exciting things that can happen to a person, and that is the purchase of a home. That's what we're here to discuss. Home ownership and how best to help people buy a home. And what is it like to be someone who wonders about home ownership and the struggles of trying to figure out all the fine print and how to get something done? That's what we're really here to talk about. Before we do, I want to thank Mary Frances Riley of the YMCA for her Mary Frances told me she was a runner. I told her I used to be a runner. Turns out when you get older, it's kind of hard to run a lot, isn't it, Mary Frances? But thank you for your hospitality. I'm so grateful you're here. I want to thank my friend Alfonso Jackson, who's the Acting Secretary of the Housing and Urban Development. That means he's waiting for Senate confirmation, which I'm confident the Senate will do soon. Where are you, Alfonso? There he is. Thanks for coming. I'm glad you're here. Alfonso and I have set a job. We want to close the minority home ownership gap in America. We want more people owning their own home, and we want more of our minorities owning their own home as well. See, we think it's in the best interest of the country that more people own something. And when you own something you call your own, you have a vital stake in the future of our nation. So we've set this goal. We'll talk about some ways how to achieve this goal. But Alfonso's the right man for the job. He's run housing authorities before. He knows what he's doing. The Senate needs to get him in there pretty quick. Speaking about senators, I'm honored that Senator Arlen Specter is with me today. Arlen, thank you for coming. I consider Arlen Specter an ally and a friend. Oh, he doesn't do everything you ask him to do all the time, but when you need him, he's there. He's an independent voice for the great state of Pennsylvania, and he's doing a fine job as the United States Senator. I appreciate you coming. Jim Gerlach is with us as well. Jim, thanks for coming. I'm proud you're here. As is Congressman Jim Greenwood. Jim, thanks for coming. It's good to see both of the congressmen. Thanks for taking your time out. I see that Chairman Jim Matthews is with us. Chairman, I'm glad you're here. He is the smart brother. Well, it's an inside joke. I appreciate other county commissioners being here, Commissioner Ellis and state and local officials, and thank you all for coming. Before we begin a little talk about the economy and home ownership, I do want to make mention of a fellow named Robert Bright. Robert, where are you? There he is. Thank you for coming, Robert. You don't know Robert. I didn't know him until I landed at the airport. He is a mentor. He is what I call a soldier in the army of compassion. A lot of times we talk about the strength of the country being our military, and that is part of the strength of the country, and we intend to keep the military strong. Or the fact that we're a wealthy nation, and that's important. But the true strength of the country is the heart and souls of our citizens. It's really the true strength of America, the fact that there are people who are willing to take time out of their life to volunteer, to save a life, or to make sure a child has got a better future. Robert has been a mentor at Big Brothers and Big Sisters. He knows what I know, that you can change our country one heart and one soul at a time. That government is not a loving organization. It's an organization of law and justice, but love emanates in our hearts. And the reason I've asked Robert to come to introduce him is because I encourage anybody who wants to serve their country to mentor a child, or to be involved with the YMCA, or to get involved with the Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, to make a difference by taking time out of your life to help heal a soul that hurts. So, Robert, thanks for the example you set, and thanks for coming today. I hope you can tell that I'm an optimistic fellow, because And one reason why is I've seen what this country has been through. We went through a recession and a stock market decline. We went through an attack. We got attacked by a bunch of cold-blooded killers, and the attack hurt. It hurt our psyche because we thought oceans could protect us. It hurt the fact we lost 1 million jobs after September the 11th. But we're a strong nation and we're a resilient nation. We began to recover, and then we discovered another thing that was harmful to economic growth and vitality and confidence. And that is we had some people who didn't tell the truth that were running corporations in America. We had some CEOs that weren't honest with their shareholders and their employees. And we passed tough laws that said we're not going to tolerate dishonesty in the boardrooms of America. And you're now beginning to see on your TV screens what we're talking about. People are being held to account. And that hurt our economy. And then, as you know, I made a very difficult decision, but the right decision, to secure our country by holding Saddam Hussein to account. But nevertheless, we had to, if you remember, we had to, on our TV screens, the phrase march to war. Anytime a nation's marching to war, it's not conducive for confident thinking. Nobody wants to march to war. It's a negative thought. Now we're marching to peace, by the way. We're on our way to... But it was tough times. And yet we're growing. The economy is strong and getting stronger. The manufacturing report today was very positive. Another indication of the economy strengthening. Unemployment's dropping here in the state of Pennsylvania. There's still people looking for work, make no mistake about it. But it's getting better. Interest rates are low, which is important if you're a first-time home buyer. Inflation's down, which is important. You know, we're going to keep working on jobs. One thing we're not going to do is get ourselves isolated from the world. I will fight off economic isolationism, which would be bad for job creation here in the state of Pennsylvania. But we've overcome a lot. And that's why I'm optimistic. We've overcome a lot because we've got people who refuse to be intimidated by terrorists. We've overcome a lot because of tax policy that left more money in the hands of the people that earned it. You know, when you got more money in your pocket, you go out and demand an additional good or a service. And when somebody demands a good or a service, in our economy, somebody produces a good or a service. And when somebody makes that good or a service, it means somebody's likely to keep a job or find work. The tax policies we passed made a lot of sense. And there's more to do. The first thing that Congress needs to do is not take that tax relief away from the people and not raise the taxes on the people. I don't know if you follow this debate that we're having up there in the nation's capital right now, or down there in the nation's capital. I used to say up there in the nation's capital. If Congress doesn't act, the child credit's going to go down, which is raising taxes on the people with children. If the Congress doesn't act, the marriage penalty's going up. Now, by the way, it doesn't make any sense to penalize marriage in the tax code. We ought to be encouraging marriage, not penalizing marriage in our tax code. If the Congress doesn't act... If the Congress doesn't act, they're going to be raising the taxes on people who work. And it makes no sense. There's other things we need to do as well. We need to worry about the cost of health care. Small businesses need to be able to pool risk with association health care plans so their employees can have more affordable health care. We need to expand health savings accounts. We need medical liability reform in Washington, D.C. We need an energy bill. It's hard to be a manufacturer in the state of Pennsylvania if you're worried about where your next energy is coming from. And we need a bill. There's a lot of things we need to do in Washington to make sure that this economy continues to grow and people can find work. And one thing we need to do is continue with good housing policy. And that's what we're here to talk about today. Home ownership in America is at the highest rate ever. It's a fantastic statement to say that, isn't it? Home ownership is at the highest rate ever. It means there's more people ever in our history are able to say, I own something. I own my own home. I went to Pearl's home, and it was pretty special. Really special, wasn't it?
Yes.
She said, "This is my home." When I walked up the stairs, she didn't say, "This is anybody else's home but her home." She said, "Would you come into my home, please? Would you come in and meet my 4 children in our home?" And it was a fantastic experience to come to a first-time homeowner's home and to visit with her family. It made me feel good. It made her feel nervous. She hadn't seen that many automobiles on her street.
That's right.
But she was great, and it was wonderful to see. We're going to talk to Pearl in a minute about how she made the decision to buy a home. See, if somebody's listening to this program, I want you to listen to Pearl's story. Because she's probably in her mind, she never was going to ever own a home until something happened. There are some things we can do in government policy to help people own a home. One of the things we can do is help people with the down payment. A lot of people say, "I want to own a home," and then they get looking at the down payment, and they realize they can't even get beyond the down payment phase. And so we passed a good law out of the United States Congress to help people with their down payments. That money will start to be dispersed soon to programs such as Genesis to help people with a down payment. The other thing we can do, and you're going to hear some stories today about how these housing counselors help people get beyond the fear of signing a contract full of small print. I mean, if you've never owned a home and you're looking at these contracts, it's a little intimidating. If you think that the president's coming to your house is intimidating, wait till you look at one of those contracts, isn't that right? And so we're going to talk about a program that we've instituted through HUD that helps with educating people. And Nikki's going to talk to us about that in a second. I believe Congress ought to pass tax credits to encourage home building, affordable homes in areas that need affordable homes. We've set a grand goal. We want to close the minority home ownership gap, and there are 3 practical ways to encourage the construction of a home and to help home buyers buy a home. I readily concede there's nothing like low interest rates to stimulate home ownership, and so I suggest to people listening out there, if you're interested in buying a home, take advantage of the low rates. Take advantage of those low rates. Lock in good low mortgages to make your future so bright. Nikki Holcroft's with us today. Nikki, tell us what you do. Thank you for coming. Nikki's a sweet soul who cares deeply about the people she's helping.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm not usually at a loss for words, so.
Neither am I, as you can tell.
I have a great job. I help people understand the buying process. People come to us every day, and they sometimes have a short journey and sometimes have a long journey to home ownership, and that's based on decisions that they've made in the past. Maybe their credit's not in great shape. Sometimes their credit is ready to go. So each journey is a little bit different, and we take each person through that journey. We help people just by educating them, like you said, understanding that contract that you're signing, understanding programs that are available to them, understanding what they can afford in a house so that they're not overextending themselves, because sometimes they get out in that marketplace and they get into the sales world where they're sold a house that they can get, but not always what makes them be able to eat something besides tuna fish every night.
Right. But in other words, have you counseled anybody up here?
Yes, I have counseled Pearl. And
I thought
Penny
you might
a
have
little
counseled
bit.
Pearl.
A little bit more with Pearl, because Pearl had a longer journey, and she worked really, really hard. In fact, yesterday she shared with us that she actually went through this process a few years ago and gave up on it, and then she came back again. And I met with Pearl last year around this time, and she had a lot of things to do, and we worked on paying a lot of things off, writing letters to credit bureaus, making sure that things that were paid were reflected as paid so that we could get her credit improved. And she had already established a good payment pattern before that. So, and we also work with some local lenders who really look beyond that credit score, and they look at whether she can pay on time at this point, whether that's an acceptable risk for them. And we were able to get her a loan through our state program, through a local bank, and she got a 4.75 fixed rate. So I think
good,
that's
yeah.
an awesome rate.
You might have more than one customer out there, you know. One of the things I said we emphasize is counseling services. It sounds like kind of a simple thing, but it's a profound opportunity for help. And you'll hear from Pearl. You about ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How many kids you got?
Well, I have 6 before living with me.
Yes, I met them all. How many cats?
1.
I met it. When did you start thinking about buying a home?
Well, like Nikki said, I had about 3.5 years ago I had started, so I was thinking then, but it was only a thought. And then I came back last year.
Was it a dream or a thought?
Well, at first it was a thought, but then it became a dream.
I got you.
Did I say that right?
It's your dreams, not ours. You're doing great.
And last year, around this time, like Nikki said, I worked for the county, and I went downstairs to the second floor to the housing development office, and I spoke with Ms. Corey, and I asked me did I have any credit problems, and I told her yes. So at that point, she directed me to Genesis Housing, and at that point, I met Nikki, Roger, and Judy.
Right. And then
I had to.
Did you have a house in mind, or you're just now thinking, I'm thinking about a house and I want to figure out if I can get the process started and then go find the house?
Well, I had to get the process started and then go find a house.
Right.
So I got with Nikki, Roger, and Judy and start working on my credit.
Yeah.
And I had to do 3 classes and still doing my credit. And the credit was a process. It's like the whole thing was like a 9-month process, but it was painless because of Nikki, Roger, and Judy.
So you had people kind of helping you
Most definitely.
with love.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
And I had to do a lot of work, but it was well worth it. And
So then when you get the credit to a certain position, what happens, Nikki, in the process?
Once we get their credit in shape where they've established some good stuff and they've paid off all the bad stuff, then we can get them pre-approved through a local lender who's not really looking at the score, because even through all that work, her credit score was not above the level that a lot of lenders are looking for. So that's why we really like working with certain lenders who don't look at the score as much, and they look at the picture, what's happening. And so when we got her pre-approved, we actually, when we first started with Pearl, we're not involved with this Ardmore project. And through that time period that we were working on her credit, we became involved with this Ardmore project. And I said,
Explain the Ardmore project, people.
And Judy may.
Judy will do it, yeah.
But
Give Judy something to say.
We visited the Ardmore project today. It's new homes that were built, affordable housing in Ardmore with the assistance of federal money to make the price low enough so that families of modest means can afford to buy.
Yeah, Judy is the co-founder of Genesis. Is that an accurate statement?
Yes, it is.
She's a social entrepreneur.
I've never been called that, but okay.
Well, it's a plus.
Sounds good.
Why don't you tell us how you got the idea and talk about Genesis right quick.
Genesis is a nonprofit housing development corporation, and so we do housing counseling. About half of our work is housing counseling to get people ready to be home buyers, to make sure that they don't get into predatory lending products, and that they are successful as they become homeowners. And we have good counselors who work individually and hold classes every month. And then the other half of what we do is renovating properties that have been vacant and abandoned, and we bring them up to code, and we then sell them to first-time buyers at a reduced price. We do a little bit of new construction like this one in Ardmore, and we also renovate homes for owner-occupied people who are of moderate means so that they can have a house that meets code, especially seniors.
Right. It's interesting. This was on this Ardmore project was on a abandoned filling station,
Yes, it was.
and you got brownfield money.
Yes, there were some environmental problems of gasoline in the soils that had to be cleaned up,
Right.
and there was some funding that made that available because anytime you get into an environmental
Right.
problem, it gets very expensive.
Right. And so, when did you see the house you're going to buy?
When did I see it?
Yeah, first see it.
The first time I seen it was, I think, like July.
Really?
Yes, sir.
And you bought it in?
December the 16th of 2003.
Fantastic. Homeowner. Penny's with us. Penny, like you're in the process of buying a home. Is that accurate?
That's accurate, Mr. President.
All right, let her go. Tell us about yourself, please, ma'am.
Well, I've been wanting to buy a house and thinking about buying a house for the last 4 years. And when I started looking, I was very overwhelmed with the realtors because they kept talking and talking. I really didn't know what they were talking about. So a friend of mine had told me about Genesis. So I went to Genesis, and they did a credit report and everything on me and taught me how to read my credit report and all that. And here I was eligible for the program in Ardmore.
Right. Oh, in Ardmore.
Mm-hmm.
Good. And so where are we in the process? Judy, maybe you can give us a hand here.
Penny's going to be one of the buyers from the second phase of the project, and there's 4 more houses that are going to be built, and she should be signing an agreement of sale in about 2 weeks.
Good. And so, like, what was your... So explain what it's like to be somebody who wants to buy a home and you're kind of lost, I guess, in the process is maybe a good way to say it. I mean,
Well,
what does Genesis do? How do they? Somebody's listening out there that probably is in your
What does
position.
Genesis
Says,
do?
yeah. How does he find out how to?
Well, I found out through a friend, and then I had went to the classes. The classes were very interesting. They taught me how to budget my money, values and budgeting, and sacrificing, not going to the mall, not going out and eating out every night. And this taught me how to budget and save my money. And through my credit union, I had them take out money out of my check each week.
Well, that's
And
good.
that's how I saved.
And how about the contracting, the contract education? Did they explain what's required of a homeowner, the down payment and the monthly payments and all the insurance? Do they help you there with that at Genesis as well?
Yes. We're going through that process in a couple of weeks. I haven't gone through that with them yet.
Judy, why don't you explain that real quick?
Sure. Penny's getting ready to sign an agreement of sale, and we'll go through step by step explaining what it was. In class, we cover it in general, and then when someone's ready to buy, we have them come and meet one-on-one with a counselor to go over their particular situation.
And how many children have you got?
2, 1 living with me.
Great. Looking forward to it.
Yes.
That's neat.
Excuse me?
I said that's neat. Good luck.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you coming. Will you invite us back for the ribbon cutting when you get to your new home?
Excuse me?
Will you invite us back to the Will you invite me back to the ribbon cutting for your new home?
Yes, I will, Mr.
All
President.
right, good. You can't live in a home unless you got somebody who's willing to build them. And Scott Cannon is a home builder. He's the president of Cameron Customs Homes.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Did you bring your family with you? I can see.
I got the family here.
Tell us about your business. Tell us about what it's like to be a home builder in the Philadelphia area.
Well, from an economy standpoint of view, it's been fantastic over the last few years, and it's a very rewarding business. It used to be a lot more rewarding than it is. When I got out of school and went into the business 20-some years ago, I used to enjoy it, and I felt like it was a social issue, and I really enjoyed building homes for people. And frankly, though, we've lost a little of that luster with all the paperwork and all the regulation we have. Your program, actually, that you're pushing through HUD, the Affordable Communities Initiative, is a great first step. It really, truly is. And this issue that, the paperwork, the regulation, the over-regulation, the multiple levels of regulation,
That would be your federal, state, and local.
you got all of them.
Yeah, right.
We got a few even more in there in between. But, it's absolutely critical. And truly, if the for-profit end of this business is ever going to be able to help people like Pearl and people like Penny, we're going to have to get to some kind of a streamlined system by which we can get through this process in less than a decade. Even this project itself took a decade. And it's just too long. Time is money, you know that. And it's incredibly important. And your leadership is really what's needed throughout the entire government when it relates to all the secretaries of all the departments. It's not just HUD. We need an affordable communities at EPA. We need it at the Army Corps. We need it at DOT. We need the Department of Energy. We need them all. And that needs you.
Did you hear that, Jackson? No. One of the things we were talking about backstage was the about how if there is a local form, that ought to be good enough for the federal government. I guess is a country boy way of summarizing what we're talking about.
Yeah,
and that's beginning to happen.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. Well, it should be happening. I mean, it's supposed to be happening soon, is what I understand.
Right. To a theater near you.
That's right, yeah. How about tort reform? You could use a little tort reform, couldn't you?
Well, we could use tort reform, sure. The class action lawsuits and things like that we truly do fear, of course.
Yeah.
But again, that's just a cost that we pass on
That's
to
right.
Pearl and Penny. It's not something that really you're not coming after me. I just have to pay more for insurance, and I pass it on to the home buyer.
No, that's exactly right. Are you building any homes these days?
Yeah, we're building a few. We've had a challenge the last year or so with the weather, but things are going good.
Well, I might be able to do some with the bureaucracy, but
That would be enough.
That would
We'll deal with the weather.
that's a lot better. Judy, you got anything else you want to share with anybody might be listening out there about buying a home?
I think the thing that's really important is that with housing counseling, anyone can put together a plan on how they can become a home buyer. Some people, it's a very short process. Some people are very familiar with being homeowners or their family's been homeowners. But a lot of people their parents aren't homeowners really don't know where to start, and a good housing counseling agency can really guide you through that process.
Right. And I presume there's a lot of housing counseling agencies around the area?
There are a few. There are many in Philadelphia. There are a few in Montgomery County. But there's a lot of good counselors out there to find one that matches up with your needs.
Good. Well, listen, somebody's listening, I hope, and are interested in buying a home. There's opportunity here in this part of the world. And you've heard two ladies say that they've been able to overcome the fears of home ownership and the kind of the mental blocks associated with home ownership because they were able to receive counseling. And the counseling's available. And we want more people owning their home. That's what we want. We want you to feel comfortable about coming to thinking about buying your own home, so that when somebody knocks on your door, you open that door and say, "Welcome to my home," just like this good lady did to me today. Listen, thank you all for coming. It's been a joy to be here. I want to thank you for your stories. May God bless you all.